Hi, I'm Kalen. Welcome back to Kalen After Midnight. The 90 days I let them hate me. They say the truth will set you free, but they never tell you the price of the ticket. I'm sitting on the deck of a 60-foot Hans sailboat currently moored off the coast of Amalfi. The sun is doing that thing where it bleeds orange and violet into the Mediterranean, turning the water into a shimmering sheet of hammered gold. For the first time in 90 days, I don't feel like I'm suffocating. My phone is vibrating on the teak table next to a glass of vintage Boulanger. It's a text from Mark, my ex-fiancé. It's the 14th one today. Please, Sarah, I saw the news. I didn't know. I was just hurt. We can fix this. I bought you that vintage Rolex that you like so much. Let's restart. Typical Mark. Even his apologies come with a price tag attached. Before that, it was my mother. Her message was even more chilling in its lack of basic human decency. Honey, we were just worried about your reputation. Your sister only told me what she saw. It was a misunderstanding. Come home for Sunday dinner. We'll celebrate your inheritance. I'm making your favorite pot roast. I look at the screen and feel a cold splash of irony. They didn't want to share a meal with a cheater, but they're dying to break bread with a multimillionaire. I haven't replied. I don't think I ever will. For 90 days, I let them call me a liar. I let them call me a gold digger and a cheat. I watched my 3-year relationship dissolve in a screaming match on a rainy sidewalk. And I watched my own mother look at me with a disgust so thick I could taste it. I did it because I made a promise to a man the rest of the world thought was a god, but who, at 3 a.m. in a darkened bedroom, was just a terrified friend who wanted to die with his dignity intact. It started with a phone call in January. It was Julian. You probably know the name Julian Vance, the architect. The man who designs those ultra-modern museums that look more like pieces of fine art than actual buildings. Julian Vance, the architect who makes the impossible look effortless. No? Well, you definitely know his brother Elias Vance. The man who redefined indie cinema for a generation. The man whose face was on every billboard from London to Tokyo. The one with the mesmerizing eyes and the smile that felt like a secret. Elias and I grew up in the same dirt patch town back when he was just Eli, the boy who shared his headphones with me on the back of the school bus so we could drown out the sound of the world. When he hit it big, he didn't forget me. He just asked me for one thing: anonymity. He was my best friend, my secret person. Julian's voice was shaking on the line. It's the lungs, Sarah. It's aggressive. He's got 3 months, maybe less. He's refusing the hospital. He's rented a room in the canyon under a shell company. He doesn't want the vultures, Sarah. He doesn't want the death watch on TMZ. He wants you. I didn't hesitate. I told Mark I had a special project for work that required late nights and absolute NDAs. I'm a freelance researcher, so it was a plausible lie, at first. By February, the After Midnight sessions began. Every night at 11 p.m., I'd drive to that secluded house in the hills. I wasn't partying. I was changing IV bags. I was reading The Great Gatsby out loud for the 100th time because Elias said the rhythm of the words helped the pain. I was holding a basin while a man the world envied withered away into a shadow. But to the outside world, I was a woman leaving her fiancé's bed to go to a secret house in the hills. Mark didn't just get suspicious, he got cruel. He started counting the miles on my odometer. He'd wait up, sitting in the dark, smelling my hair when I walked in. He didn't find cologne. He found the faint clinical smell of antiseptic and expensive candles. But to a shallow mind like Mark's, that's even worse. It smells like a high-end hotel room. "Who's paying you, Sarah?" he'd sneer, his voice dripping with that Ivy League condescension I'd spent years trying to ignore. "Because I know what you make. You don't buy Italian silk scarves on a researcher's salary. Is he old? Is he a producer? Do you think you're going to be a star?" Then came my sister Chloe. If Mark is a snob, Chloe is a scavenger. She's the kind of person who thinks a like on Instagram is a personality trait and views other people's lives as content to be mined. She followed me. She perched herself in the brush like a paparazzo. She saw me on the balcony of the Canyon house at 2 a.m., laughing through tears with a man whose face was obscured by a silk robe and a surgical mask. She didn't see a dying icon. She saw a jackpot. She didn't call me to ask if I was okay. She took photos, calculated the property value of the house, and sent the evidence to Mark with a caption. "Looks like Sarah finally found a bigger fish. Don't let her take you for half of your stuff." I remember a Tuesday in mid-February. The wind was howling through the canyon, rattling the floor-to-ceiling glass of the house. Elias was having a bad air day. That's what we called it when his lungs felt like they were filled with wet sand. He was sitting in the library, staring at a massive oil painting of himself from 5 years ago, leaning against a Ferrari in Cannes, looking like he owned the sun. "I don't recognize him, Sarah," he whispered. His voice was a raspy ghost of the baritone that had commanded silver screens. I sat at his feet, rubbing his cold hands. "That's just the costume, Eli. I'm looking at the real guy right now." He looked at me, his eyes watering. "The real guy is a burden. The real guy is making you lie to the man you're supposed to marry. Why are you still here?" "Because," I told him, "when we were 10 and I fell off the hayloft and broke my arm, you sat in the dirt with me for 3 hours until the ambulance came because I was scared to be alone. I'm just sitting in the dirt with you, Eli. That's all this is." He leaned his forehead against mine, and for a second he wasn't a dying icon. He was just a boy who didn't want to go into the dark by himself. The night the world ended was a Tuesday. I walked into our apartment at 4 a.m., my back aching and my eyes stinging from lack of sleep. Mark was sitting at the kitchen island, a bottle of expensive scotch half empty in front of him. The photos Chloe took were spread out like a deck of cards. "Who is he, Sarah?" His voice was flat. "Dead. The house is owned by Vance Holdings." I looked it up. "Are you sleeping with Julian Vance? Or is it one of his rich clients?" "I can't tell you, Mark. I need you to trust me. Give me 3 more weeks. I promise on everything I own I am not cheating on you." He laughed, a sharp, ugly sound. "Trust you? You smell like a hospital in expensive linen. You're wearing a vintage Patek Philippe watch. I didn't buy you." It was Eli's watch, given to me so I would know precisely when to administer his morphine. "You're a high-end escort at best and a lying bitch at worst." "Mark, stop." "No." He stood towering over me. "I've already called your mother. She's disgusted. Chloe told us everything. She said you've been bragging about landing a whale. You're pathetic, Sarah. You think you're moving up? You're moving out." My mother called 10 minutes later. "Sarah, how could you be so stupid? If you were going to have an affair, you should have at least picked someone who would marry you, not someone who hides you in a canyon like a dirty secret. You've earned your reputation. Don't expect to come to the family reunion." I looked at the phone, then at Mark. I thought about Elias, who had just spent 2 hours crying because he couldn't remember the lyrics to the song his mother used to sing him. I thought about the promise that I made to him. Don't let them see me like this, Sarah. Let them remember the movies. So I didn't say a word. I packed a single suitcase and left. In the final week, Julian and I didn't sleep. We existed in a blur of morphine schedules and whispered memories. One night, Julian was exhausted, asleep in the armchair by the bed. Elias beckoned me over closer to him. He couldn't speak much anymore, but he pointed to a notebook on the nightstand. For Julian, he mouthed. Inside, Elias had spent his last bit of strength sketching. Not movie sets, but the house that he and Julian had dreamed of building when they were kids. He had written a note at the bottom. Take care of her, Jules. She's the only one who didn't want anything from us but us. I looked at the Julian then, really looked at him. I saw the way his grief was quiet and dignified, so different from my mother's loud, performative worry. Julian caught me looking, and then in the dim light of the medical monitors, he reached out and took my hand. We didn't say a word. We just stood there, a bridge of support for the man between us. That was the moment I realized, while my real life was screaming at me through my phone, my actual life, the one that mattered, was happening right here in silence. Elias died on a Friday morning, just as the birds were starting to chirp in the canyon. It was peaceful. Julian was on his left, I was on his right. His last words weren't for the camera, they were for us. Thank you for your silence. 2 hours later, the news broke. The silence that followed from my family was deafening. The secret house was suddenly surrounded by news vans. The world learned that the reclusive star had spent his final days in the care of his two closest, most trusted confidants. A lawyer read a pre-written statement from Elias that he had recorded weeks prior. The apologies tour started within 60 seconds of that broadcast. Mark showed up at the gates of the Canyon House, crying into the intercom, saying he was protecting our love and that he didn't mean the names he called me. Chloe posted a photo of us from childhood with the caption, "My brave sister, always so selfless." She even tagged a luxury handbag in the post. And my mother, well, she sent the Sunday dinner text, as if a plate of pot roast could erase the way she looked at me when she thought I was poor and ruined. So here I am, on the boat. Julian is at the helm. He's the only person who doesn't look at me like I'm a headline or a lottery ticket. He looks at me like the woman who stayed awake for 90 nights for a brother he loved. He walked over, leaving the boat on autopilot. He hands me a fresh glass of wine, but he doesn't pull away. He sits close enough that I can feel the warmth of his shoulder against mine. Did Mark text again, he asks, his voice low and rhythmic like the tide. Yep, he wants to restart, I say, tossing my phone into a cushioned seat. He thinks he can buy his way back in now that the escort is actually a heiress. Julian looks out at the horizon. People like Mark and your sister, they only see the gold. They never see the fire it took to forge it. He reaches out, his hand hesitant for a second before he rests it on my cheek. His thumb brushes away stray hair. I saw the fire, Sarah. I see you. I lean into his touch. It's not frantic, demanding heat that I had with Mark. It's something different. It's a slow burn safety. It's the feeling of finally being seen by someone who doesn't need an NDA to keep a secret. I'm not going back, Julian, I whisper. I know, he says. He closes his arm around me, sliding it around my waist, pulling me into a firm, steady embrace. I rest my head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat, a steady living rhythm that replaces the clinical ticking of the clocks in that canyon house. I look at the sunset, then at the open water ahead. I think I'll stay out here a while longer. I've spent 90 days in the dark. I think I'm ready for the sun. After all, it's after midnight somewhere. A secret is a heavy thing to carry alone, but sometimes it's the only thing that's actually yours. Sleep well. Thank you for joining Kalen After Midnight.